Not yet. Yep.
Good. All right. See you soon.
We're going to get started in just a minute. So for the question, if you're supposed to hear something, we haven't started yet. We are starting soon.
We'll start now. Welcome to this edition of AARP Massachusetts Fraud Talk Tuesdays. We're here on the second Tuesday of each month from 12 to 12:30 when we discuss different scams and how you can protect yourself and your family from becoming a victim. Today's topic is job search and job posting scams. My name is David DeForest. I'm a volunteer with AARP Massachusetts, and our presenter today is Alice Diamond, also a volunteer with AARP Massachusetts and the Fraud Watch Network helpline. Alice served as Associate Dean for Career Services at a university and has seen firsthand the types of scams perpetrated on job seekers. You may have joined us today with questions already in mind. If you have, please put them into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. Or if questions come up during the presentation, put them into the Q&A also. This session is being recorded and you will receive a copy of this recording to share with family and friends. At the end of the presentation, we will share a page with links to a number of resources. So let's get started. Thank you, Allison. Alice.
Thanks so much, David. As David mentioned, this is a topic that I have a lot of experience with, and there was a particular student at my school who's one of the smartest students that I knew, who applied for a job, and it turned out it was a scam posting, and the devastating impact that it had on her finances, and her family, because their bank accounts were linked. And it was the motivation for me to become a fraud fighter with AARP. So it means a lot to be able to share information about job search scams. So let's get going here. A minute. Sorry, we're having a technical difficulty here. Just 1 second. So we're going to talk about how to spot, wait a minute, how to spot job and income scams, how to protect yourself using LinkedIn, and resources that are available to you through AARP and other sources. Well, one of the things that's, I've often talked about jobs posting scams, and people will say, well, why is that even a thing? And like all scams, the purpose for scammers is either to steal your money or to steal your identity so that they can then steal your money. So one of the things we're going to start with talking about, what are some of the examples of job titles that we see in scam postings? Now they can be almost any title, but the top two that we've seen are mystery shopper and personal assistant. Now, if you don't know what mystery shopper is, this sounds like a great job, especially if you're somebody who likes to shop. This is a job where you get hired by a company to go out and buy products of that company and then report back on the customer service experience. This is a gold mine for scammers because money is involved. They send you money to buy the items, and then any money that's left over you would send back. And as you'll see later in my talk, anytime you're sending money back is a real red flag. The second one is personal assistant, which became so ubiquitous as a scam posting that in my career center, we had to institute a policy that no posting for personal assistant could be approved on our online system unless I or my second in command personally looked at the posting. And even if it looked legit, we followed it up with a phone call to get more information. So that's another one. I didn't write it here, but administrative assistant is a very common scam posting. Caregiver, but it can be pretty much anything. I've seen them for project manager, graphic designer, financial advisor. And sometimes it's not the title of the job, it's what the description says. So, for example, work from home and earn a six-figure salary. That sounds like a great idea, but really, how often is that going to happen? There's a lot of scam postings for government jobs. And sometimes it's not a job. It can be training to start your own business. It can be getting leads um, for the business that you're going to run, and many, many, many more. And these are just some examples of the kind of things that you see, $1,000 a week, job placement services, paying for job listings, great paying jobs guaranteed. These are two that I personally received. On the left, I think that all of us now, I think I get a posting of a job offer, a text about a job offer at least once every 2 weeks. So the one on the left is an example, $6,000 a month. It all sounds great, right? There's 15 positions open. Come join the team. And then this showed up, the one on the right showed up on my Facebook page, um, assembling candy boxes from home. This is a posting that we received, and a lot of it can look somewhat legit. $25 an hour, part-time work, administrative support. And there actually is an existing company with a fairly similar name. But if you look here at the email address, one major red flag is that the email address doesn't have anything to do with the name of the company. And we're going to talk more about ways to look out for things like that. And one thing I want to mention now with the reality of artificial intelligence, the quality of the scam note postings has gotten much better, and scammers can gather information about you that's available publicly and create an email that's tailored to you that is automated. So it isn't like somebody sitting there and typing this personal email to you. They just could pull information that's available and put it into a template that then gets sent to you. So really important for everyone to know, even a job posting that appears legitimate can be a scam. Okay, so where do you see these posted? Unfortunately, everywhere that you see legitimate postings. So they can be online, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn Jobs, Indeed.com, many other sites. And I mean, all of these companies have fraud teams, but the proliferation of these, it's just obviously, apparently more than they can possibly keep up with. It could come to you also as an email, and I've seen this in any number of different kinds of scams, including job postings. So my friend knows I'm looking for a project manager job, sees a posting, it looks interesting, they forward it to me. Oh, well, I'm getting a posting from my trusted friend. What I don't realize is that, the friend quickly looked at it, but the friend doesn't necessarily know whether it's a scam or not. It's also possible that my friend's email has been hacked and they didn't even actually send it to me. And then we've, as I mentioned earlier, the text messages where we're getting scam postings, offers, invitations to apply for positions.
Hey, Alice, we had a question
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Somebody said that the recruitment placement outsourcers are the bane of my job search. How do I suggest dealing with them? This is coming from Carl.
It's a really good question. I mean, like there's probably 99 of them that are useless, and then 1 in 100 might be useful. Um, I mean, one thing is be extremely cautious. I mean, your default with an outside recruiter should be almost assume it's not legit unless you can determine otherwise. I mean, you certainly can look them up on LinkedIn. You can do some background research. You can have a conversation with somebody, but I mean, if you're busy with your job search, you can ignore any recruiters that are from the outside. I do think that if somebody is a legitimate outside recruiter, you should be able to find enough information about them online to have a sense of whether they're legit or not. Okay, so signs of scams. One is if you're ever asked to pay for job listings or pay application fees, major red flag. I mean, this is kind of obvious. You're being paid a lot of money for simple work. I mean, even that posting that said $25 an hour for an administrative assistant, you know, that is on the higher side, I would say, so you want to be cautious about that. Anytime you're paid before you work. Now, the way it works in the real world is we work and then we get paid after we work. So anytime you're getting sent money before you work, or if you're asked to pay for software or training materials, put the money out and they get reimbursed. We're going to talk more about the fake check scam and how that works. Another red flag, if you're asked to pay fees to the employer or to the recruiting agency, any job offer that comes without an interview or a text interview, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's a thing, or a short interview, or if some critical component of the interview process is missing. Let me give you an example. I was working with a student who was graduating in graphic design, and she had heard me speak in one of her classes and said, if you ever get a job offer and you have any question about it, run it past me. So she connected with me. She showed me all the materials. She showed me the job offer. It all looked legit. I asked her about the interview process, and she said, oh, I interviewed with human resources. Then I interviewed with the art director. And then I had my final interview with a higher level manager. And I said, well, how did the review of your portfolio go? Oh, she said, they didn't look at my portfolio. Wait a minute. I've been helping people find jobs in the field of graphic design for decades, and no one has ever been hired in that field without someone looking at their portfolio. And then we looked more closely, and I did something which I learned from that. We looked at the email address, and one letter was off. It turned out they had impersonated a legitimate company with a legitimate job, but the email address, it was like XYZ company, and it said, XXY company or something like that. So the interview process is really important. And again, anything that just sounds like it's too good to be true. So one thing to keep in mind is that scammers in all types of scam take advantage of our emotions, and both positive and negative. So whenever we're more emotional, it's easier for scammers to get us what we call under the ether. And remember, job searching is very emotional. We can feel desperate when we're applying. We can feel really excited when we hear back from a job we applied for. And often during a job search, your emotions are running high and low, and therefore we're more vulnerable when we have heightened emotions. And it doesn't mean you're hysterical for a week. It just means for that split second, you open up your email and you feel really excited and you go to click before you had time to really think it through. So a couple things that you can do to protect yourself. Be cautious if the employer is using a personal email to contact you about a job posting. Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail. Now that doesn't mean all Gmail that it has to do with a job posting is necessarily legit. That should just raise a concern. Why are they using a personal email and not something connected to the name of the company? Be cautious if there's misspellings or errors in the posting, email address, company information. Again, with AI, it's a tool that's giving scammers an ability to do much more, to post things that are much less likely to have misspellings or errors. I've done this. I mean, believe me, this is not a fancy technique, but I've gotten a job posting that just something didn't seem right to me. And I just look up the street address of what's supposed to be a corporation, and I see an empty lot on Google Maps. I mean, again, that's not just because you see an office building doesn't mean it's legit, but that's often a quick thing to do. If the interview is all conducted online, and/or the job is remote, be especially cautious. Now, many interview processes are happening online, on Zoom, Google Meets, etc. So just because it's an online interview doesn't mean it's a scam posting, but you just want to, again, have a heightened sense of caution if everything's online and the job is remote, you want to be especially cautious. We talked about outside recruiters. Again, many scammers pose as outside recruiters. I want to share, I was working with a high school student who was applying to college, and she was also trying to get a part-time job. And she had been looking for part-time jobs, and she emailed me, oh, I'm all set. I found a part-time job. So I asked her to send me the job offer. And it was going to pay, like, it was a remote job as an administrative assistant paying $35 an hour for a hospital in Atlanta. And it was just like red flag after red flag after red flag. And the giveaway was in the posting, way down at the job offer letter at the bottom said, any expenses incurred before you start work will be reimbursed after you begin working. We'll talk about why that's a definite red flag. I love LinkedIn. I'm probably on it typically on a daily basis. I'm going to encourage everyone to set your privacy settings so that only those with first degree connections can see your email address. And you can do that by going to settings and privacy. Be cautious about who you accept as connections. Now, I know you're supposed to be networking far and wide, but I also think you need to be aware that that scammers are using LinkedIn. And one of the things that they do is that they can take information that's available on LinkedIn and impersonate legitimate companies and real hiring officials. So just because you see someone's profile on LinkedIn, you can't be positive that that's actually the person you're communicating with. I mean, this is a low-tech thing to do, but I do it constantly. We get a job posting, I look at the thing. I actually call the company to verify that they actually are contacting me about the position.
Hey, Alice, we have another,
Alice, there's a comment here
Yeah.
from one of the listeners. Indeed has been known for requesting for people to submit their resume through them, and then they would send the resume to the employer for their review. I notice it never happens, but what does happen is that they take information from your resume and send that info to third-party solicitors, none of which leads to a job.
Yeah.
The question was, how can we filter out companies like Indeed who simply use our information for solicitations?
Well, Indeed is a great resource. But when you see a job posting on Indeed, it's just a sort of a gatherer of job postings. Go to the site of the organization where it's posted and see if you can apply through the organization. Annoyingly, in some organizations, the only way to apply is through Indeed. But if you ever have the chance, whether it's on Indeed or any other website, if you want to go to the organization's website and apply directly through them. And you'll also see, I think I have a slide later, be very thoughtful about who you're sending your resume to. I would not just send my resume to Indeed to apply for a job.
Thank you for that information.
Yep. I recommend don't post your resume on job boards. You're either going to get scam postings or reached out for things that you're not even interested in. Really important. Keep track of all the jobs you applied for. It can be a list, it can be a spreadsheet, but one of the ways people get scammed is, they've applied for so many jobs that they can't remember whether they even applied for the job or not. It's really important. And another tip, don't just keep a hot link because in many organizations, as soon as they start interviewing for the job, they take down the posting. Then you get a call or an email that you're going to be interviewed, and all you have is the hot link that went cold. Take a screenshot of the job posting so you know what you applied for. Another tip, don't overshare on social media. This is a tip for all kinds of scams. And when you're contacted about an interview, research the organization online, check to be sure you applied for the job. And again, remember, unfortunately, that almost any Google search is going to bring up links to scam websites. One of the most common ways that people get scammed that I hear about in my calls for the Fraud Watch Network helpline is they were having a problem with WhatsApp or they were having a problem with Venmo and they Googled the phone number. Don't Google phone numbers. Most of these organizations do not even have a phone number. So what's going to come up on the search is a link to a scam, and you actually initiate a phone call and you're talking to a scammer. Okay, a couple more really quick things. If a job application asks for personal information, leave it blank. That means your social security number, birth date, bank account information. If you get a job offer, independently verify that the person offering you the job actually works at the organization. And when you get a written offer, review it really carefully and share it with a trusted and wise friend for a second opinion. You know, you're excited, you're sure that it's all set. Just run it past. I cannot tell you how many times people are all set and they just show me the offer, and then we together realize something's not quite right. Finally, don't give out credit card or bank information. Never accept payment before you start working. Don't cash a check from anyone that you haven't verified. And don't pay for anything before you start work, especially using Venmo, Zelle, gift cards, or cryptocurrency. Even a credit card, you know, you can dispute it, but it's a whole process. It can take months long, and in the meanwhile, it's just a hassle. And if any job offer letter mentions that you'll be reimbursed for expenses that you have before work after you start, a major red flag. If anybody ever sends you a check and asks you to send money back, it's a scam. And remember that to be paid, you're going to be asked for personal information for the W-4, W-9, or also an I-9 form. So this is the point where you want to be absolutely positive this is not a scam. Tip: get an old-fashioned hard copy check for your first or second paycheck. You don't have to give them your bank information for direct deposit until you've already been paid, until you've already worked, and just be really, really cautious. And finally, we've got resources. The AARP Fraud Watch Helpline, which I volunteer on, is open to anyone. We answer calls from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't have to be an AARP member. You don't have to be a senior. It's free to everyone, and it's a great resource. If you provided banking information to a scammer, contact your bank immediately. Identitytheft.gov is a great resource for any issues that you have with identity theft. And then we strongly recommend that you either put an alert or a freeze on your account with the 3 credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And then finally, anything that happened online, you can report to the FBI Internet Crime Center at ic3.gov/complaint.
Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time, unless you have any final thoughts, Alice?
Let me say one thing. We've been talking about jobs, but it also has to do with contract work, temp work, one time, you know, often you may not be looking for a regular full-time job, but given the way the economy is right now, often people are looking for sort of a gig. So remember, this relates to that. Also, bring this conversation up with the young people in your life who are probably job searching, because I can't tell you how often when I tell people, I start to talk about job search scams, people that are otherwise really knowledgeable about scams say, "Oh, I never heard of job search scams." So just have the conversation when you're with friends and family, to just be aware that anytime you're doing anything that potentially relates to bringing in some more income, you could be opening yourself up to the possibility of a scam. And as we always say at AARP, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam.
Alice, there is another
Yep.
question. Is it safe to get a customer service number from a website such as Land's End? I would think if they have a fully developed website, it would be okay. Is
Yeah,
that
what you
true?
want to do is hover over the web address of the company to look to see, you know, does it say, I don't know, like for example, landsend.com is what you're looking for. Is there an extra S? Is there an extra letter? And a really good thing is, like, if you have a Land's End catalog or a bill that you know came from the company, look in a place like that to be sure you have the correct website.
And they people were asking about getting a recording of this. Where will it be posted? Maybe Dennis, can you help with that in that regards?
Yeah, people will get a link to the recording. Also, all of the Fraud Talk Tuesdays, the last 24 that we've recorded are all out on the AARP Massachusetts YouTube channel in a playlist. So if you want to go to YouTube and type in AARP Massachusetts, you should be able to come up with our channel. And in the playlist, you'll see all 24 of the last recordings.
That was great information. Thank you, Alice. And thanks for sharing your insights and your experience. And as you mentioned, this information is important to everyone, whether you're younger or older. And next month, our topic is identity theft. Every 2 seconds, someone's identity is stolen. We'll discuss what is it and what information are scammers after. Explain a number of ways your identity can be stolen and how scammers can use your information. What you can do to protect yourself and what to do if your identity has been stolen. So please join us on July 8th at 12 noon. And as Alice said, and we repeat, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. Thank you. Thanks, Allison.